Right, here's the second part of today's notes, determining the intercepts. So when I mean intercepts, I mean about the x and the y-intercepts. How can you do that is you have to write the equation. You have to figure out what's going to be your y-intercept and what's going to be your x. All right, so here we go with this. I'm going to use the text box this time because I feel that some of y'all like it better, and that's okay. Matt earns $11 per hour at his job. Each week he must pay a $20 fee for uniform cleaning. Which function describes F? Matt's pay for working 8 hours in 1 week. All right, so F is what he's doing. So we would write F of H equals, he's getting paid 11 per hour, so that's the H. He has to pay. So he's having to pay something that's getting taken away. So it's minus 20. Okay, that's the equation, but we want to figure out what's going to be the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept means that the x is equal to 0, so h equals 0. So that means I would do f of 0 equals 11 times 0 minus 20, and that's going to give me negative 20, which means if he doesn't work, he still has to pay them $20, okay? Doesn't work, still pay $20 for cleaning. Make this a little bit bigger. There you go. All right, well, what about the x-intercept? Well, the x-intercept is when f of x is 0. Okay, so we would say 0 equals 11h minus 20. I add 20 to both sides, so I would get 20 equals 11h. Divide each side by 11, and I'm going to get 1 point. Let me see that. Let me use my phone real quick just to get that calculator. I should have the calculator in front of me, but I don't. And that's what happens, right? We sometimes don't have. All right, it's 1.8. All right, equals 8. So that means he has to work 1.8 hours, which really means he has to work more than 2. So he needs to work more. Well, you can work 1.8. He must work 1.8 hours just to cover the cleaning. Let's see if I can make this big enough to fit everywhere. We're going to move that up a little bit. See if it fits. And it does. It fit. All right. It fit. Okay. There you go. So h of x is equal to 11h minus 20. H is equal to 0 is going to give me my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is that he's going to owe $20 for just cleaning. So if he doesn't work, he still has to pay the $20 for the cleaning. F of h is equal to 0 is when y is equal to 0. That's going to give us our x-intercept. So we added 20 to both sides. We divided by 11. We got 1.8. So he has to work just 1.8 hours in order and I put h for hours, just to cover the cleaning. All right, let's look over to this one. Kaylin receives a bonus check based on the amount of sales that she has each month. Kaylin receives 10% of her first 1,500 sales. If the sales exceed 1,500, then the function would be this. So she would receive 15% of that. Is used to determine the amount of bonus check, where X is the total amount of Kaylin's sales. All right, so if you noticed over here on this problem, and I'm going to use this, the highlighter. The negative 20 right here was the y-intercept. So when it's the function, the y-intercept is going to be the number over here. When h of x is going to be the number that is by itself. It doesn't have a variable. So this one right here is being multiplied, right? So that can't be the y-intercept because it has to be something that's not being multiplied or has a variable close to it. This one has a variable close to it. It's right next door to it. So we would go to the one that has just plus or minus. So this right here would be my y-intercept. So if she doesn't make over the 1,500 in sales, she's not going to get a bonus check. So let's write that in there. No bonus check if she makes 1,000. No bonus check. It was just, there's none. She's just going to get paid her original price. Okay? Because it says right here, she only gets the 150. So the 150 that's it. Wait, so she does get a bonus. So her bonus is $1,550 if she makes under $50 in sales. It clicked off. All right, so we're gonna have to do this one. Oh no, it did let me do it. It let me go back. Yay! So happy. All right, that's better. Okay, so what are we gonna do now to figure out what the Y-intercept would, what the X-intercept? So remember, the X-intercept is when we let the Y equals 0, f of x. So we will put 0 equals 0.15, x minus 1500 plus 150. So I would subtract 150 from both sides. Divide by 0.15. So let me get my calculator out here again. So 150 divided by 0.15 is 1,000. So a negative 1,000 equals x minus 1500. All right. Let me backtrack a little bit because I just want to make sure that everybody understands what we just did. Opposite of plus is minus, so that's why it's a negative. This one's going to eliminate. Then right here, we have parentheses. I know that we're so used to multiplying when we have parentheses, but is multiplication what's the opposite of that? Division. That's going to give us the inside, and that's what we're looking for. If we multiply, we're giving us those more steps. Okay. Now I'm going to add that 1500 right here because that's a minus sign. That means I get 500 equals x. So 500 would be what she would have to make if she gets nothing. She wouldn't get the 150 at all. Okay. So 150 would be if she makes that $1,500 in sales, because that would be 0, and when x is equal to 0, that's my y-intercept. But over here I got 500. So if she only makes 500 in sales, no bonus check. I can do that a little bit bigger. That's it. Okay. All right, we submit that. Okay, now we go to this one. What was this? Olaf has a savings account with a balance of $1,200 each month. He pays his rent of $800 from his account. He does not make any deposits to or additional withdrawals from this account. So let's go ahead and write it. So it would be y equals, he has $12,000 in there, and he's subtracting $800 every month. Okay. My y-intercept will be this right here, because that's how much he has in the account. How much he has originally is $12,000. That's his y-intercept. The x-intercept will be when I solve this. So 0 equals 12,000 minus 800x. We subtract the 12,000 from both sides. And now we divide it by 800. And I know you're like, oh, these are two are negatives. How are we going to end up getting a positive number? Well, you divide two negatives. Right? Divided by 800. 15. So 15 is equal to x. So he is only going to be able to pay 15 months of rent. Oh, sorry. I spelled rent wrong. Before he has zero money left. Okay? Zero money. So he has to do something to get money into his account. All right, we go over here. Science class has found that the number of cricket chirps heard in 14 seconds depends on the outside temperature. The graph below represents the function which models this relationship. Okay, so here's the x-axis. We know that it's going to cross somewhere. So it crosses right here. So at 40 degrees temperature, they don't hear any chirps. 0 chirps. That's kind of cold. Okay, and I get that. Okay, and we don't have birds. Remember, we're in the south. I mean, well, in the north, they don't. When they're cold, they go to the south when when it's winter. So that kind of makes sense. The Y-intercept would be at 0 temperature, but we don't have 0 temperature. There's not going to be any chirps because that's freezing. Okay, so we didn't have a Y-intercept because it's freezing. The animals aren't going to be able to do anything. So as you have 0 chirps at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, there's no way we can get 0 degrees and have some kind of chirps, okay? So we only have an X-intercept, and sometimes with these real world problems, that's going to happen. Sometimes we'll have a Y-intercept and we won't have an X, okay? You have to be able to understand that. When we were in Algebra 1, we had X and Y-intercepts because we were graphing, when you're just graphing regular equations. But when you're dealing with real world problems, sometimes you'll have an X-intercept, sometimes you'll just have a Y-intercept, and sometimes you can have both, okay? We have to look at the situation to determine if that's going to be able to happen. So in this problem, we can't have a Y-intercept because that would be 0 degrees, okay? All right, submit that, and here we go to the next one. All right. A writer wants to hire someone to type the manuscript for his new novel. The speed of typist A can be modeled by the function the number of words remaining to be typed, WT equals 1,700,000 minus 65T after T minutes. So the Y-intercept would be how much he has left to type. So this is how many words the manuscript is. So Y-intercept, number of remaining words, length of manuscript. So we know that that's the highlighted green. All right, well now how do we figure out what the X-intercept is? Remember we have the Y equals 0, so 0 equals minus 65T. We subtract that from both sides, the 170,000 from both sides, and then we divide it by both sides. All right, let's do 170,000 divided by 65. Remember, 2 negatives. This is going to give me 2,615.38 minutes to finish manuscript. I hope I typed the manuscript right. Nope. Added extra. That means that he would have 0 words left. All right, so on the graph, the X-intercept is where it crosses the X-axis. On the table, it's the X value where Y is equal to 0. Word problems, write the equation, replace the Y with 0, and solve for X. The Y-intercept. On the graph is where it crosses the Y-axis. On the table, the Y value is when X is equal to 0. That's how you find it on the table. And word problems are write the equation, replace the X with 0, and solve for Y. Okay. There is no quiz for this one. I gave you the quiz for the first section. Okay, this is going to tie into tomorrow's. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.